Hello friends, today we are going to discuss a topic from the essays which have come in the UPSC examination 2023 mains. The topic is visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. So when you are writing an essay in the examination or even practicing at home, my advice would be to first think about the topic and to arrive at some kind of structure which you want to use in your essay rather than just directly jumping in and writing the essay paper. It is much better to first have see what we can do is that if you are writing such an essay, turn to the last page just before the second essay is starting. For example, let's say there are let's assume there are 28 pages in the textbook. There were these many when I gave the exam, that is in 2014. 28 pages were given. Out of those, 14 were for the first essay and the other 14 were for the second essay. So after 14, on the 15th page, new essay was beginning. That they had printed the new headings or topics on the 15th page. So what I did was, and what you also can do is, that just before this 15th page, the 14th page, you can initially only just mark it as rough so that it is not marked. Just write rough on the top, not just above. See, this is like the answer copy is like this, and you have to write between these margins only. Do not write anything here, or here. So here only you mark it rough, and initially only just cross it like this. Because in the end what happens is that sometimes we are short of time, and in that case it is possible that you might forget marking this or marking this page as a rough page and crossing it out. So initially only we can do that, and then we can start beginning to plan the structure of our essay. So when you are planning this essay, first of all I would suggest you to define the topic so that examiner knows that you are actually understanding what the examiner is trying to ask here, and you will be knowing you will be sticking to the topic only rather than writing anything and everything under the sun. It is very important to write what is there in the topic itself, and the aim of this essay is to elaborate this sentence. So as you will move forward, try to start elaborating this sentence. That is the most important piece of advice which I can give you. That is, you just have to answer or elaborate, or let's say analyze each of these words. For example, when you start, first thing is visionary decision making. So you can start with decision making. What is decision making? Decision making, it is basically taking decisions by the administration or the management. So administration is there in every company, in every country, in every household. Administration is there. For example, see, in the country, what is administration? It includes the ministers and the bureaucracy, that IAS, IPS and other officers, and then the services which are supporting these entities. So this is the administration. In a company, administration is the CEO, the managing director, the board, whoever is taking part in the decision making. Then in home also, probably a father and mother, they are combined administration of that home. In patriarchal societies, the administration is resting with the father and the management is resting with the mother. In matriarchal societies, it is the opposite. Mother is the decision maker and father is implementing those decisions. Similarly, you see in administration also, when we are talking about country also, parliament is the administration. It is giving the laws or the rules, and then the bureaucracy, the ministers and IAS, they are administering those laws. So you can start with this, that decision making is the entity which is entrusted with taking decisions out of all possible choices. So you can make your own definition that there are multiple choices everywhere in life, and out of these choices, which is the most appropriate one for that instant and for that moment, which will give you the maximum benefit. That will be decision making. Now let us add visionary to it. So visionary, what is visionary? Visionary simply means that, see, decision making happens every day. Even when we are getting ready for office, even when we are choosing a good test series, we are making decisions. But just waking up and having a coffee or a tea, that is not a vision. It is a simple decision to make. Similarly, whether I want to wear a striped shirt or a plain shirt, that is my decision. This is not, there is nothing extraordinary or visionary in that. But then, when you are having a company, when you are having a country, in those cases, out of the available resources, the money, what the money you are using and where you are using, that is visionary decision making. For example, let's say in the country, we are having this much amount of money which we can spend on capital creation. Some money we are having taxes, we are taking loans, we are having borrowings, we are getting fines. Out of that money, we are using some of them for revenue payment, which are there, which will be there. For example, the pensions are there, the salaries are there, which have to be paid, the administration has to be done, the maintenance of machines, roads, everything is there. After we are done with these expenditure, now we are left with a certain amount of money. This money now we can utilize for anything. For example, now we can build structures with this. We can build schools, we can build hospitals, we can build roads, we can set up power plants, we can have energy infrastructure, we can have railways, we can have ports, we can use it for space technology, we can use it for nuclear technology. This money now which is left, with this money which we will be using for other things, for whatever way we find useful or appropriate for our country. For example, government is investing more and more on railway infrastructure. Why? Because government says that already the existing infrastructure is very much burdened. So therefore there is a need to add more infrastructure so that going forward it does not lack in carrying capacity, and people are looking, and people are more better served in terms of their movement from one place to another. Secondly, we are also expanding railways because we also want to move cargo. The first is people and secondly cargo. So right now road is the more used form of transport in India for cargo, even for long distance movement of cargo. But that is not appropriate. Why? Because see, the road transport is expensive. If we talk about road, in comparison to railways, road transport is expensive because a truck, when it moves, it consumes more energy. If a rail is moving, it will consume lesser energy. Secondly, it is leading to congestion on the roads. You see everywhere in every city there are jams, there is congestion. Even on highways we see that, barring a few expressways, even the highways are also having so much vehicles plying that it is very difficult for a person to drive in these places without in very comfortable position. We see so many vehicles plying, so there is always, and again there is always a chance of an accident in road transport, which is lesser. Always, see, every mode will be having some chances of accident, but then road transport is having more chances and railways will have lesser chances. There are many reasons for this, because the drivers and the cleaners, they are overworked, they do not get enough sleep, they are using liquor and alcohol while even driving, the road conditions are not that great. So all these things, they are contributing to an accident. So the government would want that the movement of cargo should be shifting from road to railways. Anyways, railways is being managed directly by the government. So government has an interest, it will be getting revenue from that. And in people, when people are moving, passengers are moving, the government has to give them subsidies. Cargo, there is no requirement for such subsidies. So in that case, therefore, now we see that the government is investing in infrastructure in railways. So now here we see that, considering railways as the better mode of transport of cargo than road, it is appropriate that more money should be invested in railways than in road. Obviously, road transport should be improved, but more money can be invested at this point. Tomorrow, after let's say 10-15 years, when this dedicated freight corridor is in place and it is being used, then we will understand that what happened to that money. Tomorrow, see, what will also happen is after 10 years, there will be many reports, there will be articles, there will be books which will be written about DFCs. People will be writing in favor, that is, yes, it is amazing. Yes, the success of India's economy depends upon these DFCs. Then people will be against also, that instead of this, if you would have put this much of money in schools, the children would have been educated. You could have made more universities and colleges which would have been a part of QS rankings, top 100 rankings, but you did not. You invested instead in DFC, and see, now they have failed. The more preferred mode of transport now is shipping rather than railways. So that is also possible. But at that time, we will have the benefit of history looking at us. At this moment, nobody is asking government to not invest in DFCs, dedicated freight corridors. But at that moment, everyone will have a prescription that why it went wrong. In case it does, although it won't. But then again, we will have to analyze all possible outcome which can be there. As the administrators, as the future IAS officers, we need to analyze all possible scenarios, whatever may happen. So, visionary decision making simply means that out of all possible choices which you had, the limited resources which you had, where did you invest those resources? So, this is what visionary decision making entails. Now, coming to next point. Next point is intersection of intuition and logic. So here the examiner wants you to understand or analyze the role of intuition as well as logic in visionary decision making. So now we will bifurcate these 2 points, and first we will take up logic, because logic is more simpler, it is more easier to explain, and it is more obvious that yes, logic should be there. If you are taking a decision, there should be definitely logic should be there. So when we talk about logic, first we will tell the examiner that yes, logic is very, very important when you are taking decisions, and that is where we are different from other species, let's say, or other whatever other animals are there, that we apply logic to everything. For example, let's say, again, let's talk about the requirement of funds in a particular state. So we have 2 states, let's say UP and Kerala. Now let's say a fund of 1000 crores is released for both of these states. Where will you invest this fund? Will you be investing this fund in education, healthcare? Let's see, let's keep it to these 2 only as of now. So we have 2 choices, that we can invest in education or we can invest in healthcare. The whole fund needs to be invested in one thing only, in one entity only. There is no choice that you cannot do it half and half. So now funds have been released. So where will you invest it? Now you might be tempted to say that education. If people are educated, they will take care of their own health. On the other hand, there will be some of you who will say health is more important, because if people are not healthy, the children are not healthy, how will they go to schools? They will remain at their homes only, and they will not get any education. So both of you are correct at some point. Now here, see, the point is that these 2 states have different priorities. As of now, Kerala is not having a problem with education. It is having very high literacy rates which are greater than 90%. And it can, and any amount of money invested in education might not bring those much returns as of now, at this moment. Tomorrow we never know. So therefore, it makes sense for Kerala to invest in health. There is yet another point. we see that in Kerala earlier also the fertility ratio was down, and again this is also a factor of education. So fertility rate was down. Fertility rate simply means that a woman, how many children this woman will have, on an average woman in the country, how many in that state, how many children this woman will have. For example, let's say the woman, the total average fertility rate is 2.1 for a replacement population. That is, if 2.1 children are there for every woman, then the population will neither grow nor it will come down. See, father and mother, the two children are there, and 0.1 we are discounting just for accidents and mishaps, whatever are happening, the mortality which is happening. So it is a replacement population level. In Kerala, the fertility rate was down because literacy was high. So therefore, the problem with Kerala is that old age people are now more. Similarly, from Kerala, people are going to the Middle Eastern countries like Qatar. So here again, we see that since people are moving out, there are lesser people to take care of these old age people. And therefore, it makes sense for Kerala to invest in health more. Education is already pretty developed, but now what we need is infrastructure to take care of people who are old age people. So therefore, it is important that management or services for old age people is there in Kerala. Similarly, if we talk about education, in UP the problem is not old age population as of now, because people are not that much migrating. The culture of joint family is still surviving, and people are taking care of their old ones more and more because they are with them. It's not that the culture is not important here. We are talking objectively. When children are living with the parents, there are more chances that they will be needing any outside help. There are lesser chances, in fact. More chances when children are not there, then people need more outside help. People need more nurses, attendants and all. So in UP, as of now, old age population is not that much of a problem. It will become in the future, let's say 50 or 100 years down the line. So, but the problem is that literacy is not very high. It is improving, that is forgiven, but then again, as of this moment, it is not that great. In UP Bihar area, we see that the literacy levels are down. Even when people are literate, they are not having any good education. The population of these areas and the density is so high that even though they are having a good number of colleges and schools, they are still not enough for the population which is there in this area, in this state. Therefore, it makes sense for the government to invest this much money in education. So therefore, from this example, we can say that now we can tell the examiner that yes, education is important for UP and the funds can be invested here, and health is more important at this moment in Kerala and funds can be invested here. This is what logic dictates. Now again, data needs to be put here that this much literacy is there in UP, Kerala 90%, and the old age population dependency is that much in Kerala and UP is this much percent. If you can add this data, your examiner would be very happy and he will give you good marks. And that is what our aim is in this examination. So this is how we can explain logic. You can add more things also here, one or two more examples. You can say that that it is important to invest in, let's say, space technology, nuclear sciences, or whatever. You can say, play with your imagination and play with your creativity and come up with some good examples where if you can code some data also, then it would be very good example and it would be fetching you good marks. Now, when we have taken care of logic, now we come to the second point, intuition. How intuition is playing a role in decision making, visionary decision making. So, how intuition? Now, here we will come to this point that we will explain to the examiner how intuition is also important. See, again, what happens is that we know, we have understood common sense and all, but then intuition, some people, some leaders, some captains, some people who are initiative takers, and who are very far in their field, who are up in their field, they are visionaries. Why? Because they invested in some technology or some product which was at that time not that much popular, but later on it became. And this thing made them separate from others. At that moment when they were investing, at that moment everyone felt that this much money is getting in wrong place. It is there, it is being invested in wrong place. Rather, it would have been more appropriate to invest it in this place. But then they persisted and ultimately they won. So this is how you start in theory, and then you explain this point with an example. For example, now since you are talking about intuition, and as per me, the examiner wants you to focus more on intuition because logic is obvious. So it won't take much more time. You can just write 200-300 words on that. But more of this part should be dedicated on intuition. 400 words you can use here and you can give good examples. For example, let's say Mahatma Gandhi. And take very good examples, recognizable examples, which can give you good marks. For example, at that time when Mahatma Gandhi was there in South Africa and he was starting his journey in India around 1920s, that is 1919, Jallianwala Bagh and all, at that time, the normal concept prevailing was that moderates, they were not having great command or great contribution towards international movement. There was actually a section, not everyone, but yes, there was a section of journalists who was saying that moderates, they are not contributing, they are instead relying on 3 P's. That is, so moderates were relying on 3 P's, prayers and petitions and all. So they are not contributing much to the national movement. Instead, the prevailing thought at that time was that we should directly strike at the heart of British Empire and we should be scaring them, even if it requires violence, even if it requires terrorism, then we should be scaring the British out of India. So at that time, Irish Republican Army, Irish Ireland movement was going on, and there we have seen the violence was more important, considered more important than peace. But Mahatma Gandhi came on the scene and he understood the simple logic that it is very difficult to scare a government with violence because government has more resources. Obviously it will be having better technology, better weapons, and we will not be able to take we cannot go on offensive against a government because government, it will be very easy for the government to take the excuse of that violence and oppress the people who are there, who are getting involved or even who are not getting involved. For example, the government can very easily take prisoners the relatives of the people who are involved in violence and such and so on. So Mahatma Gandhi, what he did was he went for the path of satyagraha, that is peaceful protest. He said that no, we don't require anything of that sorts. We do not require to just directly fight this government. Instead, what we can do is we can tell them that we do not want you here, and we are more. We can take care of our interest on our own. We can form our own government. We can have our own bureaucracy, and there is no requirement for Britishers. As the Britishers had said that we are having a white man's burden to bring education and development to these third world or developing countries like the South Asian countries and the African countries like that. Mahatma Gandhi said, no, we don't need you. We are sufficient. We are enough on our own, and there is no requirement for you to come here and educate us and tell us what to do. We are much more capable and we don't need you. So this is what was the concept of Satyagraha. At that time when it started, people said, what is this going on? What are we? Why are we getting beaten up? We are going for a march. The British police is beating us up and we are standing there. And Mahatma Gandhi is saying that if they are beating your one side of one cheek, then go give them another cheek also. So that was not respected by everyone. It was not right for everyone. Some of the people, they were in agreement with Mahatma Gandhi, while the others said that what you are proposing, it's not that amazing and it's not a good deal and we will not be supporting you in this. But Mahatma Gandhi insisted. He said, no, if I am going to take part in any movement, that movement will be non-violent and it will be based on truth. Truth and non-violence. These were the two weapons being used by Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi said this, that okay, we'll be using this, and if you are with me, please be with me. Otherwise, I will go to the masses. And instead of having just a few people, Mahatma Gandhi, what he did was he made this national movement a mass movement. And so the national movement proceeded, and the result is in front of you. We call Mahatma Gandhi the father of the nation, and in 1947, India became independent. So this is how Mahatma Gandhi changed the directions. He turned this movement into mass movement. So we are not saying here that radicals were not important, because Mahatma Gandhi, he himself, in fact, he also praised the radicals also for their supreme sacrifice, but he was not in agreement with their methodology. Bhagat Singh, in fact, when he has written his essay, that is Why I Am an Atheist, he also supports this point that violence actually is not the answer. So therefore, we see that ultimately Mahatma Gandhi, he won independence for the country. Now, if we talk, this was pre-independence. Now you can go after independence. So this was the intuition of one man, Mahatma Gandhi. What happened after independence? See, you can talk about different points, what happened after independence. For example, let's say critics. At that time, the articles, they were focusing that yes, we need to remove poverty. We are one of the most poor country. Britishers have taken all our resources and money. We need more schools. We need more hospitals, which is actually not wrong, which is true. We needed it. But then the requirement was not just invest money in these 2-3 things. The requirement was to be a balanced development. We required a balanced development. We needed to invest money in sciences also. We needed to invest money in technology also. We needed to invest money in technology in agriculture also, because you can improve upon poverty only when people are eating well. If you do not have enough food, how can you ask them to work more? How can employment be given to the people who are not having food? There will be only one point in their whole mind, that is how to give enough food for themselves as well as for their children. So therefore, the intuitions of some leaders, for example, Vikram Sarabhai was there, or Satish Dhawan was there. These people, they invested in space technology at that time. And the government was criticized. Why you are spending money on space technology? We need more schools. But now, as of now, at this point, now we understand that yes, that investment has now paid off, and very handsomely. We have just now landed Chandrayaan 3 on the moon, and it has been a huge success. The countries, they are fighting to be a part of India's friendship. They are looking towards India's friendship, because India is one country which is getting these achievements at a significantly lower cost or expenses. So therefore, Vikram Sarabhai's intuition in space tech, Homi Jahangir Bhabha, his intuition in nuclear technologies. Initially, when nuclear sciences were being developed in country, and when we went for our first peaceful nuclear explosion, so that we can have nuclear bombs at the time of Indira Gandhi, we were not accepted by the world community. We were being boycotted. World community like US and other countries, they said that no, you are doing wrong, and we will be not talking to you. You will be isolated. We will not give you any exports. We will not let you transact in the world market. But we went ahead with it, because we knew that at some point we will be requiring this nuclear weapons because of our tough neighborhood. On one side we have Pakistan, on the other side we have China, and then we have the Indian Ocean and the other water bodies. So if we needed to protect ourselves, we needed a good deterrent, and nuclear weapons provided us with those deterrents. And look what happened. Today, we can say that yes, India is one of the countries which is being accepted as a nuclear power, despite not signing CTBT as well as NPT. Similarly, we can say that countries like even see US also, even Japan. Japan is one country which is the only one country to have experienced the destruction of nuclear weapons. And despite its reservations, it is one country which is now standing with India. So now it understands that India has been developing nuclear weapons for its use because India requires these nuclear weapons. It is not just developing out to maintain its hegemony. It wants to protect itself. It is developing it for its own self-security. And therefore, Japan is now standing with India. Similarly, you can talk about other leaders also. For example, Nehru. He invested in the temples of modern India, that is the power plants, the hydro electricity projects and such like that. Indira Gandhi, you can talk about, see, if you want, you can talk about all the good important leaders. All leaders are good, but then yes, the important leaders who took major decisions. Indira Gandhi, she invested more and more in the Soviet-India relationship, and now today we see that our defenses, their technologies, their spare parts, they are more dependent on Soviet than on any other country. Rajiv Gandhi, he invested in the IT revolution, and today is India. India is called one of the back office of the world because of India's technological prowess. PV Narasimha Rao, you can talk about PV Narasimha Rao also, Manmohan Singh also. They invested in the new economic policy, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. So all these people, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, you can talk about him, invested in the Golden Quadrilateral, the road infrastructure. Prime Minister Modi also, you can say Swachh Bharat is his contribution. Even Manmohan Singh, he has contributed towards rights like right to information, right to work, that is MG Narega, and all those different schemes. You can talk about them. Even see this, you cannot, there is no need to just limit it to one space. You can go to different dimensions, and that is the requirement actually. I'm using the wrong word, you should be going towards other dimensions also. For example, you can go to a constituent assembly also. That constituent assembly, when it was deciding our constitution, it was having so much intuition to insert article 368 in the constitution, so that tomorrow, whenever any new idea or concept has to be added to the constitution, it will be very easy to do. And therefore, this is one also very important. Then again, we can say that in Constituent Assembly also the concept of positive discrimination was debated and it was kept in the rights, fundamental rights itself. That is, we can say that reservation for SC and ST communities which have been oppressed by the history. Then we can talk about women reservation also. See, it is very important to insert the current affairs also, which will be very important for you. So you can say the women reservation part is there, which you can include here. So this is how you can move ahead, and you can you can talk about the Indian history also. What is the contribution of Akbar, Ashoka, and such people. You can talk about the medieval history also, and you can talk about international relations, environment, climate change, where the intuition of many leaders has now led to people coming together and fighting for climate change, agriculture. So what I want you to do is touch every important aspect, so that your essay is having many dimensions, and the examiner is very happy with your knowledge and the coverage of your essay. And in the end, you can end with a good conclusion. You can give the summary that we can say that visionary decision making is dependent upon two factors, that is intuition as well as logic. And when we talk about logic, this is the logic is important, but then intuition is no less important. And intuition is there for one person, the person who can see that what will be the future, and that is how intuition will be happening in decision making. And we expect that this intuition and logic will also take our country and the economy forward. That is how you can end it on a positive note. So this can be a approach to essay. If there is any other approach which you can remember, which you can tell us, then please comment in the comment box, and please let me know whether you like this topic and should we be going ahead with more such topics in essay. And if there is anything else you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you.